welcome to the Lead Generation World podcast. My name is Michael Faree. Thanks for joining me again today. We've got a great interview with Karis Koehn of Volly, just about ready to happen. Karis is... she's been in the lead generation industry for a few years, working with Volly, but also getting really involved with the Leads Council, and then also other groups to support women within the industry. So really cool stuff to talk about with her. Thank you to Digital Media Solutions, got your shirt on today, and Lending Tree for sponsoring the podcast, as well as Lead Generation World Denver 2020. And of course, I always have to say, if you haven't signed up yet, you got to sign up soon. It's $3.95. Got a ton of great content. Go to the website, check it out. Take a look at the agenda and see what we got going on. But let's go ahead and get started. Let's bring Karis on the call and start talking a little bit of shop. All right, welcome to Lead Generation World Podcast. I've got Karis Koehn from Volly with me here today. Karis, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So let's kind of jump in. You know what's funny? I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, and I noticed that you went to Mid-America Nazarene University, which is funny. You also went to University of Missouri, Kansas City. But the connection I thought was entertaining was that I went to Point Loma Nazarene University.
Oh, you did? Oh, interesting. Yeah. So are you an old Nazarene? Because I grew up Nazarene.
You did? No, I didn't. Yeah. I didn't. I wasn't. I have to admit, I went to that school for the location.
It is not a bad location. Not a bad location at all.
Yeah, the education was great too, but Point Loma Nazarene is located towards the end of Point Loma in San Diego on these cliffs overlooking the ocean. Okay. It's amazing, and the campus is beautiful. And
yeah, I'm sure it's much prettier than Mid-America. That's where I went and got my master's degree. So my undergrad is actually from the University of Missouri, Kansas City. Master's degree from Mid-America.
And what did you get your master's? What was your master's?
Both in business administration. So I went back 10 years later after I graduated for the master's degree. Felt like I needed to have a little bit more, you know how you kind of need your brain woken up again?
Yeah.
So 10 years later, I went back to school to get my master's degree.
I feel like that every day. My brain. But so you got your master's and you got your degree from Missouri and Kansas City. Where is Mid-America Nazarene? Is that in Kansas or Missouri?
It's just outside of Kansas City in a suburb called Olathe, Kansas.
Oh, okay.
So it's about probably about 25 minutes from downtown Kansas City.
So are you originally from there? Is that where you grew up?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, so I grew up in Kansas City. I moved away for a few years. I actually went to the East Coast. I went to Alexandria, Virginia, just outside of D.C. for about 3 years. Again, I felt like I needed that change and that different, surroundings in order to, again, kind of get a different perspective on life and my career and all those things. So I picked up and I moved to D.C., stayed there for about 3 years. It got a little bit expensive. And so when I came back to Kansas City, that's actually when I transitioned into this new job with SoftView, formerly SoftView, but that's when I entered into the whole mortgage world at that time. So that was at the end of 2012. So I've been working in the mortgage industry now for almost 7 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, because prior to that, you were it was more it was not mortgage, but it was financial related, wasn't it?
Yeah. So for several years, I worked in the accounting profession. I'm not an accountant, so I don't want anybody to think that I'm an accountant. I think they do wonderful work. I just would not be able to do as good a work as those accountants do. But I started off in the accounting world and working with a certain software program when I was working at a company called CBiz, and I was doing all of the scheduling for all the accountants, basically putting them on audit and tax and just basically making sure they were being utilized. But I implemented an entire new software package across company-wide, across CBiz, across the nation. And after it was in place for a little bit, I thought, I could probably sell this. If we use it, I'm sure other firms would benefit from it. So that's when I moved into sales. Actually, is I went and started selling to accounting firms the software package. And selling to accountants is tough. They scrutinize a lot of things. It really forced me to be a very detailed type person when I'm looking at problem solving. And 3 or 4 years later, about 5 years later, when I entered into the mortgage industry, I realized then too that the skills that I had learned working with accountants really transferred well into really digging into some of the things that our clients are dealing with today, which is I'm getting all of these leads in. They're coming in from all these different sources. Performance is different across all of my different lead vendors and the way that I'm dealing with my customers. And so we really need to take a deep dive look into what's your processes, what's your tech stack, what are you doing, and how can we take what you're using today and make it better and just make you more successful and help you close more loans. And so I feel like my background in all of that, working with accountants, really kind of set that pace for me of like digging in and solving problems and doing those things with our clients today.
Yeah, and I bet accountants are pretty stuck in their ways too, right? I mean, they're counting beans and pushing, the thing that what the abacus or whatever it is. I don't know. And so I bet that was tough to convince them that, hey, here's something that can actually help you guys do something. It's a little different, but
it was really hard. It was really it's hard to sell to accountants. I will just tell you that it's very hard. Love them. I made some great friends, great contacts in the industry, but oh my goodness, it is very hard to sell to accountants.
Yeah. So thank God you're not doing that. Now you've kind of gone up the ladder a little bit, maybe not quite as tough because, the mortgage industry, and frankly, SoftView has been around for 15 years maybe?
If we hadn't been acquired, I think it would have been this November would have been 20 years, I think, actually. So November of 2009, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
And I think back then it was it focused more on email, video? Tell me a little bit about the history of SoftView real quick.
I'll tell you the background. So Tim Donnelly was the founder of SoftView, started the company in 1999. I think I just said 2009 a second ago, but in 1999. And when he first launched the company, it was kind of an interesting way that he kind of got into this world that we're in today. He was working with staffing companies across the country, and he was helping them to design these video resumes. So what would happen is a person would go into a staffing location. There would be a booth set up that we actually had provided for them and some, lighting and whatever it was. And the person would actually, record their resumes, and that would be distributed to all the different staffing locations across the country in order to, figure out if this person, find them a job and that type of thing. And so someone had approached him, actually it was Lance Melber had approached him, and people would probably recognize that name, had approached him shortly after that and said, you know what, I'm buying all these leads from LendingTree. Lance was based here in Kansas City. And he's like, I'd really like to humanize the experience for my loan officers. So can you guys come and do videos for me? I want videos of my loan officers, and I want you guys to distribute those. And that's really where it started. And the whole process is Tim had to figure out, the video process is not a big deal. It was the distribution, right? So you get them on these email cadence and you deliver these videos, and how do you do that best? And Lance ended up selling his company to Capital One for an incredible amount of money. And then that really kind of launched us into that world of working with consumer direct mortgage companies, have gone through this whole wave of interest rates and the crash and all those different types of things. But we've really maintained this whole base of, humanize the experience, give that customer a great experience, whether it's over video or over email. And that's the way you're going to get them to engage with you and actually buy from you or want to call you or talk to the loan officer when they call. So that was the background of SoftView.
Yeah, I remember when I was buying leads for a mortgage company and saw a few coming around and giving us the demo on the email, the
Hmm.
videos, and all this sort of stuff. And I can't remember if I think we may have utilized it with some of our loan officers. I can't remember if we got full adoption
Yeah.
for it. But it was cool because one of the things, and I'm sure it's somewhat similar now, is that you were notified when someone actually opened the
Hmm.
email and viewed it. So you're like, call them up, while
Yes.
while
That
they're
is
looking at
the
it.
that is the classic view notification, as we
Yeah,
like to say, the secret sauce
yeah,
to making that successful. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's really, really cool. And first of all, I should note, thank you for being taking the time out to talk with me today, because I know you're not feeling well, and feel free to
Ah.
drink
Okay.
as much tea and all that sort of stuff as we're talking, and pause as you want. um but and on that note, back to a little bit about Karis. You just congratulate, you just had a baby boy how many
I
months ago
did.
now?
Yeah. See, he will be 4 months on November 23rd. So he was born July 23rd. Yeah,
And
my
you have
second.
another boy
I
as
do.
well, and he's what,
Yes.
3 or something?
He just turned 4 on October 1st.
4.
So yes.
So let's talk about that. How does a professional mom, and I'm sure you have a supportive husband as well, but it's no easy task. You know, going through the whole. Tell me about tell me about how you guys balance this, and how you've been
Uh,
able to do this, being a successful woman, career woman, and balancing newborns and all this sort of stuff too. I mean, I'm sure a lot of women would like to hear, and I'm curious because I know it's a hard thing.
yeah. You know what? I mean, you never really find a balance, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you find compromises, and that's really where it is. And the with my job, and I love what I do. I love my job. I love my clients. I love working in this industry. But it requires a lot of travel. I mean, I started traveling again when Kelton was 8 weeks old. And you think about leaving a little 8 week old at home
Yeah.
with my husband Rob, and again, I have to let a lot of things go. I can't be concerned about what Kelton wears to school to daycare every day, or I can't be concerned about what Barrett wears every day. Um, I'm not the type of person who leaves a long laundry list of things for my husband to do while I'm gone, and I have to be able to take a step back and say, if I put this list together, if I do, that's time and things that I have to think about that I shouldn't have to. I have to be able to trust that my husband can handle it, and he can. I mean, there's no reason why he can't, right? We've been doing this parenting thing now for 4 years, and we learned a lot with the first one. And I will tell you, it was hard. The year
Yeah.
one was very hard, but I'm blessed with having a great husband who who is understanding of my job and who is supportive. And although I'm sure there's times when he's just like, I can't believe you're not going to be here. How am I going to juggle these two kids for swim lessons and, feeding the baby and you're off doing, whatever. He's very understanding, but you know what? I have to let a lot of things go. I just can't I just can't let myself get worried about, is Barrett eating chicken nuggets for dinner every night? Yes, he
Right.
is, because he's picky right now, and he doesn't want to eat anything but chicken fingers and applesauce, right? And
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
force him to eat vegetables because he just won't do it. So I got to let that go. He's fine. He's healthy.
Yeah.
You just have to let certain things go, and that's really what I do. And I probably let too many things go, but you know what? In the end, it'll all get figured out, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I just think it's I mean, I just think it's amazing, first of all, and I think it's, kudos to you and anybody who goes through that process. And I have a friend here in San Diego that has 2 kids and highly successful. Both of them work not from home. Both of them work outside of their
Yeah.
home, and but they crush it. I mean, they just do a really good job as a team, and are able to make it work. And I think there's just so many families out there that um work two jobs. I mean, it's just how it is,
Yeah.
and not always because they need to, but because they want to, and
Right.
why not?
Right.
You know.
Exactly. I could not be a stay-at-home mom. I have so much respect for moms who just
Yeah, absolutely.
stay
And not
home.
taking any respect away from, yeah,
No. And
absolutely.
they work, and actually, they probably work way harder than I do every single day, right? I mean, that's a ton of work, but I wouldn't be able to do that. My child would be sitting in front of the iPad all day long because I'd be like, I don't even know what to do with you all day. So they get a much better experience at this great school and daycare that I have them in. So I know that they're learning and they're being taken care of. Not that I would be neglectful by any means, but they
Yeah.
are being taken care of. And again, it's one of those things that I have to let go, right? I have to understand and know that I'm going to drop my children off. They're going to be well taken care of. And I don't even call the daycare place during the day. It's like, if they need me, they can call me, but I'm not going to try to fill my mind with what's happening over there to check on it. I trust that they are doing okay.
Yeah. And that's key. And I'm sure a lot of people have a hard time with that. Maybe, you do too, is like kind of letting go and go, okay, they're here, they're safe, they're good. I focus here, and you're able to sort of
Yeah.
compartmentalize a little bit of this stuff,
Yeah.
So you not only are you a mama too, but you also do a lot of work. Well, I don't know. Maybe I like to ask you what you're doing now with regards to women in the industry, specifically lead gen. I know you you're still part of the Leads Council, which is not a women's group,
Right.
but we're maybe
Not.
working closer towards that. But you have the Women of LeadsCon that you've done for a number of years too, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so tell me about
So,
that. Yeah.
Sure. So a shout out to my friend Lisa Sanders over at Home
Yeah.
Captain if she watches this. So it was 2013. So I started with SoftView in December of 2012. March of 2013 was my first LeadsCon, and I remember, and again, new to the mortgage industry, right? So I remember talking to Tim about it and saying, well, I'm looking at this list of people who are attending this. I don't see a lot of women on this list. And he's like,
Yeah.
no, there's just not a lot in our industry and doing these things. So I actually thought about it, and I came back to him and I said, what if I find some of our clients that are attending, and we just organized a little dinner. And I said, we'll call it the Ladies of LeadsCon, and we'll go out to dinner. And he said, yeah, I thought that'd be a good idea. So our first Ladies of LeadsCon, I think there were 5 of us there, a couple from SoftView, and then a few other folks who joined in, and then it just kind of blossomed from there. So I ended up meeting, of course, Lisa Sanders and Gina Black, who used to be with Velocify. Now
I just talked with Gina the other day. She's the best.
Yeah, she's fantastic. So Lisa and Gina, and of course Jenny Dould, who's a VP of Client Services here, and just all these other women, Dawn Holden and Tonya Diaz, and all these other women. Just we realized we're all coming to these same events, and we need to just put together an event basically just for women. So we kept doing this Ladies of LeadsCon thing, and we kind of scaled it back a little bit this past March just because of schedules and that type of thing. But the year before, I think that we had like 30 to 35 women that actually attended across different industries. And this past one we did it, we just focused on the mortgage industry. But we still had 20 women that were there.
Is that a dinner still, or is that bigger? Is that more than that now?
It's a dinner. So I try to find sponsors for the dinner. So if you are a partner in the industry, a vendor, then you can come in. We basically have, however many partners or vendors there, we split the bill between us. All of the buyers. So if you're with a mortgage company, we cover dinner, we cover all the, all drinks and all that type of stuff. And so again, and it's not about trying to sell our services. We don't do any presentations. We don't do any of that stuff. Really, the goal is we want other women in this industry, specifically in this lead generation world, right, that we're in. We we want them to get together and to meet and to network and communicate with each other, because that's how we win. That's how we grow. That's how we grow, and that's how we develop as women in our careers, is having other women who are advocates, right? And that was really it. It's not about trying to sell more things. It's not about that at all. It's about connecting. That's all it is. Connect these women, and let's bring more women into this industry, because I think we're a force to be reckoned with. We've got, I mean, if you think about like Dawn Holden over at Banner Bank and running that consumer direct division and running a call center, I mean, that's you don't see that, right? And so she should be out there meeting other women who are in her same type of situation. And so that's really what it's all about: connections and networking.
How have you seen it grown since that, what you said, did you say 2006 was your first LeadsCon?
2013.
Oh, 13, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what am I saying? LeadsCon wasn't even around then. It was 2008
I don't think
when
it
the
was
first one.
it.
So based, you've seen this sort of an evolution a little bit. Have you seen much change in the industry? Because I've seen the same thing, right? We go to, the industry conferences. Obviously then was, really only LeadsCon, and now there's multiple conferences, obviously lead generation world, Journaya, all your guys' summit, everybody's, got different shows. Are you seeing sort of, an improvement on the mix at all, or?
Yeah, we can see more that are coming. And one of my goals in starting Ladies of LeadsCon or any kind of women's group is to spread the word, to say, hey, come to these events. And I think sometimes I heard I was at a conference a few weeks ago, and a female was speaking, and she was saying the reason why she didn't go to any of the mortgage related conferences is because it was so male dominated, and she just felt like she wasn't a part of it. And my whole thing is, you're missing out, because there are so many good things that happen at these conferences. Speakers, we're really excited about Lead Generation World. The content there, it's like nobody should feel intimidated to not go because they feel like they're in the minority. And so my goal with bringing these women together has been to create this network that then goes out and says, hey, Samantha from Home Point, right? Come to the next LeadsCon. And she's like, I don't really go to, well, hey, listen, we've got this ladies group. It's great. I think you should meet some of these other women that are attending. And so now you start recruiting from all of your clients who would be a perfect fit to come to LeadsCon. They learn a lot, or, to Lead Generation World. And then yet also meet and network with all of these incredible women that are in the industry. And so that's really kind of the goal. It's just, let's bring more in. And I've seen that grow. I've seen more women from mortgage companies now that might not have been represented in the past are coming now to these events. And we've created a little bit of a cult, right? Because we have kind of our core group, and then we continue to bring in these other women into the group. And it's created a really great networking group, because now when they go to these other shows that are outside of LeadsCon, now they know other people that are there because these other women are attending. And then you get these little pockets of groups at these different events, which I love. I love seeing it expand like that.
Yeah, I love it too. I think it's just so great, and it's so it's sad to think that people wouldn't go to something or benefit from something, because they're just it is kind of, I don't even know how to describe it from my point of view, but you see a bunch of old dudes up there on stage, and it's hard to it's hard. I don't know if it's hard to relate, but the maybe the voice, generally speaking, the voice is just different than what you normally would consume from someone that's maybe a little bit, I don't know I don't know how to articulate it, but I get,
I get what you're saying. And, one of the things that I was talking to a friend, another girlfriend in the industry, about just recently, is that men and women are different up on stage, right? So you've got, and it's just the nature of men, and I might be, thrown into some category if I'm talking about this, but, sometimes with men up on stage, it's all about how much and you want to continue to just like build.
And a bravado kind of thing,
It's a bravado
an ego thing,
An ego thing, right? And they're getting up there with a drink, and they're holding a drink while they're talking, and it's just like, you know, kind of does this thing. Whereas a female might get up there, and it's more of a storytelling thing. It's talking about some of the struggles that they have. It's the reality of situations and those types of things, and you know, where they came from and how they got there. It's not necessarily about the ego portion of it, and I think that's what we benefit from when we have those mixed voices up on stage talking. Is that, you know, it's not all about the bravado. It really truly is about the story of that person, and what's that takeaway that people in the audience can take and say, you know what, she went out and she built this, or she did this. That's something that I want to do in my organization, or I want to, you know, and being able to take those, walk away with those takeaways. I mean, we've got, again, incredibly smart women in the industry, and my goal is to, you know, we do a summit every year.
Mm-hmm.
In June, and it used to be the Southeast Summit, now it's the Volly Summit. But you know, my other goal is let's get a good team of really smart women up there to talk about what they're doing in their organizations. You know, you've got Katie Sweeney out there who's working on the Arrive platform, incredibly smart, has so many things to offer into this industry. Like, let's give those people, those women, a voice to talk about what they're doing.
Yeah. And I think, and what I was going to say was, I don't know if it's like one or the other is necessarily better or worse, but I think what's important is the balance, right? So if you have it all, you know, weighted towards one side, men or women, you're just going to get a different feel, you know? And,
right.
And I think having probably the weighted balance is really what you really want. So you can really attract to all people, and all people can hear the, you know,
right.
a voice that they're akin to. Speaking of, you're going to be speaking at Lead Generation World
I am
coming up, and talking about the customer journey, right?
Mm-hmm. I am. So for it's a big subject. So for those of your listeners or people who are watching the podcast, maybe aren't familiar. So I'll just give you a little background on Volly so you kind of understand where we're coming from and our experience. So my company, StopU, was acquired by a private equity company on July 1st of 2018. We combined with two other companies, a company called Loyalty Express, which is a CRM and marketing portal, custom marketing portal, flyers and those types of things, company that managed that for very large banks and mortgage companies in our industry. And then Lending Manager is, it's not called Lending Manager anymore, but it's a point of sale. And then StopU is a marketing automation platform. And so the goal basically of our platform is to bring all of those marketing activities that are related to even someone who hasn't raised their hand yet here, to create content that engages them through the point that they actually close. So that brings them into the point of sale, right? And they're filling out that application. They close the loan, and then of course you're still nurturing them on the back end on a retention program, and just, you know, kind of closing that loop, right? So, you know, 5 years later when they're ready to refi or buy a new house, you're right there waiting for them. And so, but a very important aspect of that is those customer journeys. And, you know, we hear a lot of things today in the industry about customer journeys. And what's the really interesting thing to me, and we've been building customer journeys for years, they are very complex. They are not easy to build. You can have just a one stream customer journey, right, that just kind of goes horizontally and that's it. But when you're really talking about your brand and the experience of the customer, you really need to start building journeys that have all different kinds of branches and be able to execute on that. And then also keep up on the content and the messaging and watching the statistics. And so one of the things that we'll be talking about at Lead Generation World is, how do you create that journey? What does that actually look like? So what is a successful journey? We've created thousands of journeys. We've deployed millions and millions of emails. We see all of this data of what are mortgage customers interacting with. What do they like to see? Do they like videos? Do they not like videos? Do they like to fill out surveys? Do they click on a red button instead of a blue button? And then taking that data and, like you said, pushing it back to the loan officer and letting them know when someone's interacting with the message so that loan officer can make a call right then. But I think the hardest part is knowing what goes into those journeys. And so that's what we're going to be speaking about at Lead Generation World. I'm going to actually have very specific journeys that I'm going to be showing: a purchase journey, a refi journey, a nurture journey. You know, maybe somebody has like Jornaya, who's using that as a data partner, or MRC as a data partner. How do you take that data that they're providing to you and create a journey unique to that type of data? And then how do you measure that? And how do you know if it's something that's successful? And so we're really going to get into some details of actual journeys. What do those look like? And how do you actually put those together? Because I think that's what's most important, is actually being able to show that to those folks that are coming to Lead Generation World. And again, the goal would be, excuse me, for them to walk away and say, you know what, these are the types of things that I want to put in place. Whether or not they use our platform, I mean, I'd love it if they did, but I also want them to be able to walk away and be able to execute within their organization on you know, whatever tools they might have in place ready.
Yeah, and it seems like these days there are so many entrances into that journey, right? I mean, with all the different social media platforms, or I mean,
Yeah.
and the tech platforms, just like Jornai, you said, which, you know, will notify you of different, I think, activities out there. Then you have your paid search, your calls, your TV. You have all these different, you know, you have referrals, you have
Right.
snail mail, email. You know, the list can go on and on and on. So is it your thought that each sort of siloed channel should have maybe a different rule base on nurturing or outreach?
Yeah, 100%. So let's take, for example, you're a consumer direct mortgage company. You've got several different ways that a customer can enter into your organization, right? That they can raise their hand. So one would be through, let's say Lending Tree. Maybe you buy Lending Tree. Well, Lending Tree is going to sell that lead to 5 different banks, or however many banks that they might be selling that to. And so that lead doesn't know who you are, right? So in that respect, you need to have a journey set up that introduces you as a company. You know, maybe has some technology in there that drives them directly to the online application. So again, you're competing against 5 banks there. So you want to talk about, you know, your value proposition, but also give them, you know, rates. We know that if you talk about rates in your subject line, you can increase your open rate. You know, your open rate can be 3 times higher than some of your other messages that you're sending out. Now, not all mortgage companies like to show rates, right? But there are ways that you can get them to open that message, provide them some value still, even if you're not showing them an actual rate, but maybe drive them to a page on your website where they can play around with rates. But, you know, again, you're going to get those signals that they're opening or they're clicking on that particular message. And that's what you want. You want that signal to go back to your loan officer. So that's why we like high open rates, right? We know, because that can drive engagement. And so really that's the thing. So you have to remember, with Lending Tree, you might handle your messages a little bit different. You might be a little bit more aggressive. With a lead that comes in from your website, so they've chosen you, that's a very, you know, that is a lead just that has chosen to come in through that channel. Maybe they know something about you, maybe a friend referred them. So you might deal with them a little bit different because you're not in a competitive situation. So, you know, you might put them on a little bit of a different path, and maybe maybe it could be a less aggressive path, but the chances of you contacting that person are way higher than a lead that you get from a lead aggregator. You know, same for social media. And if you're getting these in from digital things like from Facebook or from your servicing portfolio, right? So you're going to deal with someone who comes in and raises their hand from your servicing port, or like a former customer, than you are from some of these other channels. And so with all of those, you should have a journey set up. Now, it doesn't have to be a specific journey. You know, there's ways to do different versioning and make it a little bit easier, but you absolutely should identify where that customer comes in from. So if they come in from your website, hey, thank you for visiting us on our website. Thank you for coming in this way. Thank you for, coming into us from Lending Tree, recognizing the lead source so they know you're not just like randomly reaching out to them, and then setting up that nurture program behind that just drives them to interact with your message. A lot of things today are driving people to the online application, which I think is great. But there's things you can do too, where if you're able to pre-fill the application, with information already that you have on that consumer, that's a great experience, right? I don't have to fill this out again. You've already pre-filled it for me. So things like that can really drive engagement and can really start to push that consumer way further down the funnel than these canned messages with a canned template that doesn't really relate back to what they're actually coming to you for.
Yeah. I mean, messaging these days seems to need to be a lot more specific and unique, per prospect.
Right.
So tell me, you guys were acquired by Volly, right? Or I'm sorry, you were acquired and then renamed to Volly.
Yeah, we were acquired and renamed to Volly. Yep.
Yeah. Give a rundown, because I know you guys have, I think your service offering is pretty broad. I mean, you guys have a ton of things that you guys provide.
We do.
Just give us a rundown on what Volly is today.
Sure. So we are a marketing platform that has been, all these different kinds of platforms have actually come together and that we are integrating. So, so again, we have the CRM, which is something typical that you would use for a retail loan officer, which also has what we call a marketing portal, which is all of your co-branded material. One of the things that's unique about the things that Volly does is we actually have an in-house creative team that produces all the creative specifically for our clients. So when you think about this marketing portal, everything that we provide for our clients is customized. So we aren't going to use a template where your logo looks stretched out or your colors are just off. We use your branding guidelines. We create very specific content to who you are, what your processes are, all behind your branding guidelines. So that's the CRM and the marketing portal, which is great for the boots on the ground loan officer. Along with that, we have the marketing automation piece, which is the soft view piece. And again, all custom content. So all mobile responsive. So we can really work with both groups, retail loan officers, because they're going to have different statuses, obviously associated with their leads, but also on the consumer direct side where statuses change like that, right? We can create all of the different messaging that goes behind that and all the different versioning, and everything is custom. So again, mobile responsive, custom content written to you specifically, nothing canned. The other elements that we have is a point of sale, which we are rolling out our new point of sale here. I believe right now, actually, we've got some clients who are doing some final testing on it today. But the point of sale has all of those integrations and things that you want with the credit spanning, with all of those different things that are needed, optimal Bloom, Vortex, within a point of sale, and those integrations with the LOS. But the other thing that's kind of nice about it is when you start to combine all of these platforms, you start to combine this messaging. Now, when it comes through the whole platform, you've got a consistent message that goes through everything. So the point of sale, instead of having a canned message come out from the point of sale that's integrated back into our marketing automation platform to send a message out. And again, it's a very consistent experience from the second they raise their hand and all messages that are coming through to the moment they enter into the point of sale, close their loan, those types of things. And then we do some other great things. We have a custom web service. So if you need a website set up with individual loan officer sites, we have that available as well. And then obviously all of our creative abilities. So videos, we do a lot of custom videos. And again, we stay away from the canned videos. We do talent videos. So a company might want to have a talent person or the company president or somebody speak on the video. A lot of animated videos, which are big, but again, not these like templated animated videos that you're going to see all over the place. So it's really a custom process that really drives that experience for that customer, and they see that brand and they're like, this looks good. This is someone that I want to do business with.
Yeah, and custom is good too when it comes to that stuff, that it sort of relates to your brand and it's unique to your brand versus
Right.
somebody doing a canned video that looks exactly like that other brand that did something too.
Right. Right. Right.
um,
Exactly.
yeah. So do loan officers, are they using are clients using the CRM portion of your
Mhm.
system, or do they integrate their own and use the sort of marketing automation through Volley, or how do banks generally interact with you guys?
Yeah, so it's component based. So they can really do anything that they want with our systems. If they want to just use the point of sale by itself, no problem. If they want to use their own CRM, and let's say typically what we'll see is a company might have their own lead management system like Accelerate or Velocify, Salesforce, and they want to attach a marketing automation platform to that because sometimes the tools within there might not fit their needs. And so we'll just componentize, is that a word?
Sure.
Just the marketing automation platform, and they
Yeah.
can tie directly into it from there. Or they can use the CRM along with marketing automation and all those different things. So we have clients who are using all systems, some together, some completely separate. So it just depends on what their need is. And I think that's what's nice about our platform is that it's flexible. We don't force you into one specific thing and say, well, you only want that, well, you have to get everything. It's coming in and saying, okay, what are your needs really? And that's what are your challenges? And then looking about how we can solve it. It might only be this little piece, but we can help in certain areas.
Are clients utilizing it to communicate back and forth with the clients as well?
So are you talking about like in terms of
So
talking to their customers
yeah, so
or?
so you sort of, we talked briefly just about email, but there's other channels where people may be communicating, or marketing messaging may
Yeah.
be going out. Um, is it? I guess the question is: it sort of one way, or is there some two-way communication between some of those channels?
Yeah, so obviously email is one. We've got another form of communication is through direct mail. So we have a direct mail shop and
Right.
in-house and everything like that. The third way of obviously is a big one now and it's growing is through text messaging. I think Aru over at BotSplash.
Yep.
BotSplash is a partner of ours. She has a fantastic platform that allows, among many other things, but this two-way communication on text messaging. And what I love about our Ruth platform and how it works with our platform as well is that again, you don't have to fit into a very specific box to work with Aru. She is able to customize those strategies and those messages that are going out that are very similar to the types of messages that we produce, right? So it's a very it's just a system that allows you to be flexible. She's flexible. She's very smart. She works with our clients to help, really drive that message and what's the best types of messages to send through texting. And then, we obviously work through the email place of it. So it kind of, again, there's those omni-channel discussions that can be going on based on where that consumer comes in through.
Got it. Yeah, and another really smart woman in the industry,
Yeah.
Aru. So speaking of groups, going back to the groups that you're part of, we touched on a little bit, but you're part of the Leads Council
Yep.
as a board member there. What's the latest happenings there, and what's the agenda kind of for the Leads Council these days?
Sure. So I just got back from my board meeting there earlier this week. We were in Phoenix. It's a growing board. We've got really great companies on the board, Lending Tree, Veterans United, Jornaya's on the board, Ellie's on the board. So really great companies. And really, it's about helping our clients protect the consumer. I mean, everything that you see today with TCPA and CFPB and all these different things, it's all about protecting the consumer. And so as we look to 2020 for Lead Council and some of the things that we're going to be doing, it's really going to be focused on how do we bring these companies together, lead buyers and lead sellers, to really drive that consumer protection. And that's where we're going to make that play, that there's so many different, as you know, lead sources out there and things that are happening. Companies are it's hard for them to understand these ever-changing rules for TCPA. And can you contact this customer after a certain amount of time? Can you not? Do they opt in? Do they not opt in? When can you text them? All those things. And those are all the things that Leads Council really focuses on, is bringing these companies together that are experts in that space and talking to members of Leads Council and educating them on the best way that they can understand these rules that are being put out by the states and federal, and kind of just dealing with all those different things. So, for our side, on the marketing side, it's making sure it's canned spam. You've got the opt-outs on there. How much, if somebody clicks on the view notification, do you have the ability, can you call them? Do you have that disclaimer or whatever within the language to actually make an outbound call? Do they opt out? So that's where the marketing messages and everything else that we're doing with Leads Council really fits into this whole process of, again, ultimate protect the consumer and do what you can do the best that you can do for the consumer.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so I guess I'll slide in a little bit, because Leads Council, we've got a little networking hour at Lead Generation World for anybody that wants to meet with board members and talk about it and all kinds of stuff. So we'll have drinks and all that sort of thing on Monday night. I think it is at 5 or 4. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So that'll be really cool. But are there, and I know you guys just did a couple impact things where you had some regulatory speakers come and talk.
Yeah.
And I think that went really, really well. What anything other than that coming up that we should be aware of, or is Lead Generation sort of the next thing?
Yeah, so Lead Generation World is the next one that's coming up. I do believe they're going to continue to do some of these smaller groups of things. Obviously, LeadsCon, Connect to Convert, heavily involved in that as well. Yep. They got some. I was not able to attend the smaller events that they did in October, unfortunately, but they got really good traction. So again, those are great events for very specific topics, right? So when you're talking very specifically about the regulatory aspects of what we're doing in our industry, those are highly impactful events to go to. You're going to have a small group there. You're going to get a lot of really good information, and your ability to go and talk to somebody and ask questions is better than going to like a LeadsCon where there's a couple thousand people that are attending, and you really don't ever get to talk to the expert that's on stage. So they're going to be doing some more of those. And then Leads Council shows up in many different events during the year as well. The Jornaya conference, to the Volly conference. There's a lot of other insurance and other industry events that are going on too that Leads Council shows up at. So it's nice to always interact with those guys and just find out what's the latest in the industry when it comes to these regulatory items.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think to your point, they seem to always be sort of evolving, especially the TCPA rules based on every single thing that goes through the court system seems to sort of change things just a little bit. It's a moving target in a lot of cases. So having those little events, I think, are really great. And being a part of all the conferences out there, I think, is important for Leads Council. And I'm super happy you guys are a part of Lead Generation World as well.
Yeah.
But if anybody, I guess they can go to Leads Council if they want to check that out, leadscouncil.org, if they want to learn more about that. If they want to get a hold of you, though, and talk a little bit more about Volly or all the things you're doing with the ladies at LeadsCon and just the different things you're working on, or even just to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so just shoot me an email. I mean, we do email, right? So you can send me an email. So my email is Koehn @myvolly.com, and it's myvolly.com, or just give me a call, 816-686-4274. Text me, call me, shoot me an email. Always happy to talk to folks, and especially if you're a female in the industry and you want to learn about how you can get more involved or connect with some other people, happy to do whatever I can to help.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And I really do appreciate you spending the time today, even though you're not feeling too well. And thanks for joining me today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for the time. It's been fun.
Awesome.